Alright, Shalom, Hebrew. This is a message from the Israelitebrotherhood. This is Israel being Israel. I'm finna do this video on the myths, and lies that's been told to the world about the Israelites and the Israelite history. You know, us Hebrews, we don't really have no idea of how these myths and lies got started. Some of the Hebrews don't even know that it's even myths and lies about the Hebrew heritage because they believe in those myths and lies. You know, they believe in those myths and lies that's been spread for like 2,000, 2,700 some years. You know, that's how long the Babylonian scribes had complete, total control of our heritage. You know, the Babylonian scribes, are some people that we Hebrew Israelites abandoned our heritage to. And most Hebrews, this probably going to be the first time that they ever heard that. And they don't have no understanding of what that means. And I'm going to try to explain it in some terms that should prompt you to do some research. We Hebrews abandoned our history to some serious people, some real serious people. But we didn't have our covenant too long anyway. I'm going to try to explain that. But this video is mostly about the myths and lies that's been told about our heritage. And those myths and lies been told about our heritage gonna come from the Babylonian scribes that we Hebrew Israelites abandoned our heritage to. That's like one of the main myths that they got started immediately after they got, control of the books, that we abandoned, and they start writing books on the 10 lost tribes. They were storytellers anyway from Babylon. We abandoned our heritage to some Babylonian scribes, some people that's been responsible for the whole history of Babylon since the Canaanites, the Amorites had control of Babylon. And that's going to be the Sephardims. The Sephardim, that's the Hebrew word for Sephardi, Sephardic, and Sephardim. Those were Babylonian scribes, and they are responsible for Babylon's God's history. Babylonians' God's history of all his gods. Murdoch, Norrijal, and just to name a few, they're responsible for their history, and they're responsible for the administration and government of Babylon. It's like that dude Hamabari, the gonna be a Amorite, and it's like he had some laws and how he did the government and how he ran the government and so forth. Well, these people that we Hebrews abandoned our heritage to had like 1,700, probably about almost 3,000 years of governance and developing governments, and the whole everything that deal with a government like we have today. They are the founders of it. And the writing, the administration, the cities, and the state governments, and how they have governors and administrators and all that. And then the bookkeeping, the libraries, the archives, and the history of that nation. They are responsible for all that, and that's what they did in Babylon, and that was their job in Babylon. And we Hebrews abandon our heritage, to them people. And I'm going to show this, and I'm going to prove this, and I'm going to show you how powerful they is. how powerful they is with wording, and how they try to manipulate people. That's like us Hebrews waking up, and we understanding that we the Hebrews, then we're gonna be able to see the 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 schemes in the way that they persuade people to believe a certain way. You see, we gonna understand it, and we gonna be able to explain it, because we are the Hebrews who they are portraying to be. But they got like 2,700 years of building history, and trying to show that they the Hebrews. You see what I'm saying? Because we abandon our heritage to them, and most Hebrews don't understand that, and then that's why come they roll with the myths and the lies that's been told, you know what I'm saying, about our heritage, and then they try to find their history within that. You see what I'm saying? That's like the 10 lost tribes. You know, that's one of the the biggest myth that they got going, that keep, that keep them in a strong position, because, with the 10 lost tribes, they try to say that the Hebrews left the promised land during the Syria times, during the Syrian war, and that the Syrians took them to Assyria, and that the Hebrews went down a magic waterfall and a water portal, through a magic water tunnel that only stopped on the Sabbath for them, and that they went to Europe and China and Asia and everywhere. You know what I'm saying? This myth, they really had a good time with it, because they said that the Hebrews went everywhere, all over the world. You know what I'm saying? From the Assyrian captivity, and that the Assyrians took 10 tribes, the 10 lost tribes. You got the folks in England walking around talking about that they the Israelites, and parading around, and they done created a history and a genealogies, and try to chase them back to this person and that person. Oh man, there's a whole lot going on. And basically the Western world was developed off those lies. You see what I'm saying? Off those lies, because the people we abandon our heritage to kind of like influence the Greek culture, the Roman culture. All of them had Babylon's history translated in Greek and stuff. It's a whole bunch of people that did it, and I can name some of those folks later on. Bucyrus, Busurus, or something like that. It was a Babylonian priest that held all the history of Babylon. You know what I'm saying? He hurried up and gave it to the Greeks and to the Romans when the Persians lost control of Babylon after they defeated the Chaldeans, you know what I'm saying, which allowed the exiles to come home, that 1%, that sin, well, something like a tenth, but they come home and they sin so bad, they allowed the Greeks to come in, and the Greeks destroyed them so fast. I'm going to go into that history too, and that's kind of like at towards the end, dealing with the exile history is kind of like a whole nother history. But you have to understand the first history, and the first history is that we broke the covenant during the Babylonian wars, when we said that we was going into the Sahara, which is Egypt, and that we was going there to worship their religion and stay, and that we was through with the covenant. The Egyptians had basically tricked us out of our heritage. I got a lot of videos explaining how the Egyptians tricked us up out of our heritage. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood, and you only gonna get the message and understand it like this from the Israelite Brotherhood. Got thousands of hours showing, Hebrew Israelite history debating and so forth. All right, but the 10 lost tribes, man, it worked so good for the Babylonian scribes, because they get to say who is a Hebrew, and they developed the folks' history off the Assyrian so-called captivity. And oh man, that's one of the longest running lies probably in the world. It's that 10 lost tribe myth. Ain't no other lie longer than that. You know what I'm saying? And then another lie is that the Hebrews ran into Africa in 70 AD. And because her Edomite temple that wasn't refurbished, but that was built straight up from the ground on up, and that it was destroyed, and that we Hebrews were so upset about that, and that we left, and went into the northern Africa, ran across Africa into Spain and stuff, That's one of the biggest myths, you know what I'm saying? And that myth is easy to tackle, and show that it wasn't no Hebrews during the New Testament era, because you have this Armenian king named Tigrinus. Tigrinus took about 20,000 Jews from Jerusalem and took them to Armenia, and wasn't none of them black. And this was in 55 BC. And then I got history showing the Ptolemies, the Lychinus, Alexander's generals claiming the Hebrew Israelite history. I got a video called both Jews are from Babylon, both group. And guess what these folks done did to the video? They done went and add they say on who and what a Jew is, using they encyclopedia, knowing that they were scribes. You see what I'm saying? That they were scribes, and they gonna write up all kind of history and meanings that's favorable to them. You see what I'm saying? And when you watch my video, go to this video site on YouTube, Israelitebrotherhood. Be sure to subscribe. Support the Israelite Brotherhood. And they got this, little message attached to the video. You can't take it off. You know what I'm saying? I was surprised to see it up there. But they trying to say who a Jew is and what a Jew is by using they history, and they say so, which is false. You see what I'm saying? Because they tried to connect the Jews to the Hebrew Israelites. You see, most people don't know that it is a difference, in that the Hebrew Israelites are not Jews. Even though they try to say that the word Jew means Yehudi, Yehuda, and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And they try to say that any person whose religion is Judaism is a Jew. In the broader sense of the term, a Jew is a person belonging to the worldwide group that constitute through descent. You see what I'm saying? Or conversion. You see, and when they say descent, that's when they using they scribing. That's when they using they scribing ability. You see what I'm saying? Because then they attach themselves to the Hebrews through false history. You see what I'm saying? Because if they didn't go into Africa, which I could prove that they didn't, and that it's only two groups of Jews that all Jews come from, that's like the Sephardi's Hebrew name is Sephardim. The men the Sephardi's Hebrew name is Sephardim. Sephardim. And Sephardim is Sephardi, Sephardic, and Sephardim. The Sephardim gonna be mostly the Sephardis that mix with the Arabs and of African descent from North Africa and in the East. You know what I'm saying? In Africa and stuff. So that's gonna be mostly them. And then you got the Sephardics, them gonna be the Europeans and mostly Ashkenazi that mix with the Sephardi Jews and stuff, or the regular people in Europe, the Caucasians that mix with the Sephardis, in Southern Europe, and that's gonna be the Sephardics. And Sephardi is kind of like a general term for all of them, and that's the the real word form, and it's Sephardim, and that's where they are from, and they are from this river, Minnesota River with two. It's a river. It's a river with two towns, Nipper and Sipper. Nipper and Sipper. I'm gonna see if I can find the maps. I know I had the maps. Here we go. Just calm down a little bit. Alright. Alright, you see that word Sipper? That's short for Sephardim. That's short for Sephardim. Those are the Sephardi Jews. Those are the Sephardi Jews, and that's where they come from. And they was Babylonian scribes, and they were from Mori. Mori is gonna be short for Amorites. It's like when we abandon our heritage for the Egyptian religion, we were slick abandoning our heritage to the Amorites. You see what I'm saying? Not only was the Amorites there controlling the gods that they previously had before we come into the land to take over, that Prophet Abraham was given the order to move there and to displace those Amorites and to take their land. I got some videos explaining this. And we were supposed to displace those Amorites because the Amorites are responsible for Sodom and Gomorrah. And Sodom and Gomorrah are basically the wicked camps of the past. That America is just like Sodom and Gomorrah, but more sophisticated because the technology with that gay and lesbian camp stuff, and how the gay and lesbian camp folks are ruling and stuff, and got power and got the power to do this, and how the government protect them, and all that wickedness that's anti-creator. You see, that comes from the Amorite culture, and that's what we Hebrews were supposed to displace. And the creator outlined what not to do in the things that the Canaanite tribes was doing in Deuteronomy and Numbers and so forth, when we was getting the law from Prophet Moses, which was like a new covenant. You know what I'm saying? It was a new culture. It was a new culture that was anti-Amorite and anti-Egyptian. That's like the Egyptians. They didn't believe in the creator. And while we was there in Egypt, being a different ethnic or tribal group than the Egyptians, they tried to enslave us. And when they try to enslave you, they mostly enslave you with their religions and with their gods. You see, if they can steal your soul with their religions and their gods, like what happened to us in the slavery days, it wasn't by no coincidence that they beat the slaves and forced them to believe in the Jesus or in this Christ, Jesus Christ, or whatever you want to call him. You see what I'm saying? I call him the Son of Satan. You know what I'm saying? And I got proof. You know what I'm saying? And I show this all the time, on Facebook. All right. They will try to get you to believe in their gods. If they can get you to believe in their gods, then they done stole your soul. That's why come the whole Tanakh history, the whole what they call the Old Testament, it is about not worshiping the other folks' gods. Don't worship their gods, because if you worship their gods, then you will become a slave blindly, and you won't even know that you're a slave. You see what I'm saying? And that's what the Egyptians did to us. No more thing, no more payment than you can give a happy slave is to steal his soul and give him a fake god, and then feed his rewards through that. Oh, the fake God is happy that you did this, you did that. You don't need no other reward than that. And that's what they did in the past when they enslaved you. They put you on their fake religions, they fake gods, and then they control you through that. That's like in Egypt. When we Hebrews was in Egypt, we was making bricks. I'm going to get back to the Babylonian scribes, because it's real important to understand them, because if you don't understand the Babylonian scribes that we abandon our heritage to, then it's kind of like impossible to understand Hebrew Israelite history. Yeah, some of y'all are blessed just to say we Hebrews and just know that for sure, and then don't even worry about the history and nothing else, because there's a whole bunch of you Hebrews, you know what I'm saying? I be reading some of your history, and the ones that I communicate with on social media, you Hebrews got all kind of history, and that history be pure crazy, and it be sounding crazy, but it's from those Jewish myths. You can't help it if you don't know. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes it take thousands of hours, because they got 2,700 years of building false history and creating false history. So, it's kind of hard to weave through the 2,700 years of developed false history and then come right to your heritage. I'm downright blessed by the Creator to get an understanding of what I do, because if you understood where I come from and the things that I went through in life, you wouldn't have no, you'll be totally amazed that, that I understand what I understand. All praise be to Almighty Yah. All right. When we was in Egypt, the Egyptians didn't believe in the Creator. And when we was in Egypt, I'm going to take it from the beginning. When we was in Egypt, we made bricks. And I'm sure everybody that's familiar with Tanakh history know the story in Exodus of how the Hebrews was forced to make bricks for the Egyptians. Well, that was to build their houses in their administration. How about Hebrews when everybody come kidnapped us, and we've been kidnapped a few times. You see what I'm saying? And held hostage and been oppressed and been in slavery quite a few times. I'm going to explain that. In Judges, we was in a whole bunch of captivities after Joshua passed away, and then we lost our momentum to get rid of the people that basically enslaved us. And what's so good about, the Tanakh and having our ancestral history that they wrote about our enemies, that we get to understand a whole lot. I'm talking about a whole lot. That's like, say for instance, the number 13. See, the number 13 is bad for them. And when they say the number 13 bad luck, yeah, because if you look and research in a lot of the Tanakh history, sometime in chapters 13, it'd be kind of like some bad history that, that's spoken about our enemies, and that's like chapter 13 of Isaiah, of prophet Isaiah, tell you about our enemies that would oppress us and do us wrong. And sure enough, if ain't old Babylon names, is named there in the Chaldeans. You see what I'm saying? In the Medes, who the Scythians would, take over their nation. So all our enemies is named there in the in chapter 13. And then if you look at Leviticus 13, that's the leprosy law, the Tezzeret law, that tell you about the Canaanites that had no pigmentation, and when we come into land, how we was to treat them, accordingly, because the Canaanite tribes had mixed up with them Nephilims and Raphalims, Cain descendants, and they had lost their pigmentation. They ain't had no pigmentation, and they was real wicked. Okay, when we was in Egypt, we made brick houses. All right, Hebrews, how about every time that a foreign power come kidnap us and take us away, that they take us to make bricks and stuff, that's like old wicked Nebuchadnezzar. He ain't have his folks making no bricks, and when he came and kidnapped the Hebrews, they tell you about the palaces and everything that was rebuilt, and how he rebuilt his city and did that. Guess what he did it with? He did it with the free Hebrews that he was able to kidnap. You see what I'm saying? From the promised land, from Jerusalem and everywhere else, because Israel was a part of the Babylonian captivity and the exile, being exiled to Babylon. The tribes of Israel was there too. And it's like I explained in the videos, how all the tribes was there. All the tribes were home during the Assyrian and Babylonian captivity. And that's when we went into Africa, and some of the people was taken to Babylon. But Israel was among the Babylonian captivity. Like Israel was among the Judeans that went into Africa, that never returned home after the Babylonian captivity ended. You got the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi from 538 BC to about 430 BC. And then it tell you in them books how the exiles sinned so bad the Greeks rolled up and destroyed them so fast. And that's one of the quietest kept history also on the face of this earth, besides us running into Africa, never returning. The Hebrews running into Africa, never returning. The world didn't document that, and we didn't document it after we wrote it down in the Tanakh history. Prophet Jeremiah wrote it down, or it was wrote down during that time by the little scribes that was with him before our history was cut off. We didn't take no scribes into Egypt to do the Egyptian religion, and I could show that the Egyptians didn't believe in the Creator. But okay, when we was exiled to Babylon during Nebuchadnezzar time, you know what I'm saying? He had us making bricks like the Egyptians did, and they say that it's over 1,000,000 bricks that was made with Nebuchadnezzar stamped on them. You know what I'm saying? 1,000,000 bricks. You know what I'm saying? He had all kind of building projects, and they were made in the millions. Every one of them was stamped or inscribed in cuneiform. Well, Nebuchadnezzar used us as slaves, the folks that he did have there, but that slavery didn't last long because the exile was freed by the Persians in something like 50 years. You see what I'm saying? They got freed in 50 years. But during that time, Nebuchadnezzar had a little time to build his, city up and stuff and make some repairs. And they held us in slavery. And the reason that those Hebrews didn't stay long in bondage is because they believed in the Creator, and they was waiting on the Creator to free them. They left the promised land believing in the Creator because they didn't go into Egypt with us. You know what I'm saying? We are called the bad figs in the book of Jeremiah, and they was the good figs that went on to Babylon because we had a captivity coming because we kept doing the Egyptian religion. You know what I'm saying? That's like I try to explain to the Hebrews that the Egyptians had to trick us at the covenant. Well, that was their job. You know what I'm saying? They didn't believe in the Creator, so they was trying to fight for their survival is what made them try to trick us out. Our covenant is because the Egyptians didn't believe in the Creator. See, they had to do trade on the other side of the promised land, and they couldn't go all the way around. And us doing that covenant right there with that law was cutting them off from doing trade with Mesopotamia with they Amorite kin folks. You know what I'm saying? I can show a correspondence between Egypt and Mesopotamia. You see what I'm saying? So, and then they used the cuneiform as the language. You know what I'm saying? Between them, Egypt and Babylon, and it's a known fact that Pharaoh didn't believe in the Creator. You know what I'm saying? If you look at Exodus, I'm gonna go into this, and then I'm gonna destroy that the myths. You know what I'm saying about the 10 lost tribes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna show that after I show how Pharaoh and the Egyptians didn't believe in the Creator, and how Egypt, gave Joseph Asenath after Pharaoh's dreams was answered, and Pharaoh gonna know that Joseph is praying to the Creator and don't believe in the Egyptian gods. You know what I'm saying? And the Egyptians didn't believe in the Creator. The Egyptians from Upper Egypt. You know what I'm saying? On the east side. You know what I'm saying? The Nubian Cushite stock. You know what I'm saying? That was kin to Babylon and Assyria and stuff. They didn't believe in the Creator. And the other ones from Lower Egypt, that was the Libya Mishwish tribes, the people from the Sahara. They kind of like, that Pharaoh and them believed in the Creator when he allowed our father Jacob to come into Egypt, and then let Joseph go send the carts and bring them food and stuff to come on in. And then our father Jacob blessed Pharaoh and stuff. So that one was cool. But then when this one that come on that didn't know Joseph. You see what I'm saying? It's gonna be the ones from Upper Egypt, from the east side, the ones that Ethiopian, Nubian, Cushitic stock. You see what I'm saying? They had some Nephilim in them. If you look up Ethiopian troglodytes, those gonna be some black cave folks. You know, we are always talking about the white caveman. We had some Ethiopian cave folks too, and they lived in the caves and in the rocks and in the holes. Because back in the days, long time ago, the Nephilims used to vacation up in the Ethiopian mountains. You know, they couldn't come down in the valleys where it was hot. They always had to stay up in the mountains where it was cool and cold at. And that's like where them Amorites live, where it was cool and it was cold at in them mountains and stuff, because they didn't have no pigmentation. All right, old Pharaoh didn't believe in the Creator when we was in Egypt, when they was stealing, tried to steal our soul and had us making bricks and stuff. You know, they steal your soul and then make you work. And that's what they did to us. And then you can have the people as a slave forever if you put them on your God. And that's what they did to us in the slavery days. And that's why our slavery lasted a long time, because we believed in their gods and stuff. You see what I'm saying? You can't believe in their gods, because if you believe in the gods that the slave owner or the oppressor give you, then you're going to be a slave forever. They done stole your soul. All right. Prophet Moses went into the Pharaoh and asked him to let us go. This was during the Exodus time, when the Creator sent Prophet Moses in to deliver us. You know what I'm saying? And to bring us up out of Egypt. And Prophet Moses with his brother Aaron kept going in to ask Pharaoh to let us go. And you know, this is what Pharaoh says. And after Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, this said the Elohim Yah of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is this Elohim that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Elohim, neither will I let Israel go. You see what I'm saying? So Pharaoh didn't believe in the Creator. And then Pharaoh was so wicked and so evil, he even tried to trick Moses and said, yeah, Moses, you can go worship before the Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to go to leave out the city to do it. You can do it here. And Prophet Moses said, man, you must be crazy. You know them Egyptians gonna stone us. See, and then you get to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron and said, go ye sacrifice to your God in the land. And Moses said, it is not meet so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes. And will they not stone us? You see what I'm saying? So, you know, Pharaoh was real wicked and real evil. He didn't believe in the Creator. And that's like they be using this system. Them Babylonian scribes is real slick. Real slick. They get the black, the Hebrews that's lost and confused, and to embrace the Egyptian heritage and culture. They get them and try to convince them that we the Egyptians. You see what I'm saying? And that we the Egyptians and stuff. And they've been doing that and been trying to discredit. You know, I got some videos showing where them those Egyptian dudes, those Hebrews that's confused with Egyptian ideology. I got videos showing them chasing Hebrews down, chasing them down and talk crazy to them and everything, because they know that those Hebrews are using Jewish history. They using the myths. They using the myths that the Babylonian scribes use to mislead us. You see what I'm saying? All right, you know, I done showed that old wicked Pharaoh, he didn't believe in the Creator. You see what I'm saying? Pharaoh didn't believe in the Creator. And here's another verse. But as for thee and thy servants, know that ye will not yet fear the Elohim Yah. You see what I'm saying? So Prophet Moses went in and he was talking to Pharaoh, and he said, I know y'all ain't gonna fear the Elohim Almighty Yah. You know what I'm saying? Almighty Yah. And you know, so them Egyptians didn't believe in the Creator, and they whole thing was to steal our soul. But also, it's like the first Egyptian pharaoh that we was dealing with, that with Joseph, and how he would get Joseph Asenath. You know what I'm saying? He gonna get Joseph Asenath, this the priest of own daughter. And from that union, you get Manasseh and Ephraim. And I could show that the tribe of Ephraim did the Egyptian worship. And you know what I'm saying? The Egyptians put that Egyptian religion on us when Jeroboam come out of Egypt, when Solomon died and stuff. See, it's a whole lot going on. And let me show this also, that we didn't stay in the land. After I show us Exodus, I'm going to show, that'll bring me into the history with Prophet Moses and Prophet Joshua. And then I can establish and show that we didn't stay in the land long, and that we got maybe like 800 years in the promised land, and that we did maybe 250 of it, maybe 300 of it, doing the covenant off and on. You know what I'm saying? I think the longest we did it was maybe for like 300 years, from Prophet Samuel all the way to King David. Samuel, Saul, and King David. That's gonna only account for like 130 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna show this. All right. Joseph was given Asenath. That was a dirty, low-down move Pharaoh made. Because Pharaoh and them trying to make sure that we don't do the covenant or planting the seed when he did this, so that it'll bear fruit later on, which it did. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephaniah and gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out all over the land of Egypt. Alright, and then it says, and unto Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of the famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for he had made me forget all my toil in all my father's house. And the name of the second called he Ephraim, for Yah had called me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Pharaoh them hooking him up. You see what I'm saying? He done answered Pharaoh dreams and stuff, and it's looking good and favorable to Pharaoh. Pharaoh gonna give him the priest's daughter. And when Joseph out doing his business trying to save Egypt, that the priest of On is kind of like the second man in charge under Pharaoh, that he gon' show enough tell the kids, hey, y'all worship this way, and the Egyptian gods is this, and that your father is not this, and the way he believe, and all that old stuff. You know how the granddaddy gonna try to persuade the grandkids and try to put his little stamp on them. Well, that was put down on the tribe of Ephraim. You see what I'm saying? And Ephraim, as can be seen, when we left Egypt during Exodus, and Prophet Moses was with us. You see what I'm saying? He done got us up out of Egypt. And then how about some Egyptians left with us, Hebrews? How about some Egyptians left with us? The mixed multitude. You know what I'm saying? And a mixed multitude went up also with them, flocks and herds, and very much cattle. So, you know what I'm saying? So, some of them Egyptians left with us. And then, when Moses go up and get the law, you know what I'm saying? You can see that them Egyptians, you know what I'm saying, was trying to get us up off the covenant. Because, you know what I'm saying, if you go to Exodus 32, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we want not what is become of him. You know what I'm saying? Then Aaron get the little earrings and stuff, and he fashioned it out there and had made it molten calf. And they said, These be the gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. You see what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Them Egyptians, dirty and low down. And if anybody, and if any Hebrews should follow the Egyptian culture, especially after the Creator said that he would send us to Egypt in ships, and then you following the Egyptian culture, you need to be kicked square in your tail. You see what I'm saying? You need to be kicked in your tail for the simple fact that the Creator said that he was sending us into Egypt in bondage. You see what I'm saying? And then you're going to go claim an Egyptian heritage. You see what I'm saying? It was the Egyptians that caused our enslavement. And I'm going to show this too. You see what I'm saying? So you see us leaving with Prophet Moses, and then Prophet Moses, going to tell us, about the covenant and, Leviticus. You know what I'm saying? It's like 13:13. That number 13. Why I'm here, I'm going to show you the 13. And that's why they say 13 is bad. And then I pray have enough time to show in the book of Jeremiah. All right, then when you get to 13:13, you know what I'm saying? It tell you, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that had the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean. You see what I'm saying? So, 13, they ain't looking too good for them. And then if you go to Isaiah chapter 13 and read it, it'll tell you about our enemies. And our enemies is sure enough these folks right here with they coded names. You see, the Babylonian scribes is code with trying to code the history and hide it, and they real elusive. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't know who the Babylonian scribes is, it's gonna be impossible for you to understand complete Hebrew Israelite history like you supposed to, because they like 75-80% of our history. You see what I'm saying? After we abandoned it, then they wrote everything about the Hebrews and stuff. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for them also, we wouldn't have the history that we supposed to have, for being that they was trying to trick the people into thinking that they was Hebrews. Then they gonna spread the Bible all around. You see what I'm saying? And it worked to their disadvantage now, because we waking up and stuff and we knowing what's going on. All right. Leviticus bad for them. All right. So as we, leave with Prophet Moses, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, you see what I'm saying? And then we get to Deuteronomy. Everybody know those blessings and curses. You know what I'm saying? The prophet Moses said, you know what I'm saying, that we would inherit it if we went into the land and got rid of that Amorite culture and didn't do the evil wickedness that they had going on today. Like they had male temple prostitution, they had abortion where they was burning the kids up that they had defects, they was putting them in the fire and stuff. And they had homosexual activity, they had all the drinking, they had all the drugs, they had all the prostitution. It was just party, pure wickedness. And that's what the Amorite cultures represent. You see what I'm saying? That's why come they got to be slick now and kind of like hide who they are, because people have biblical history that they can read back on and know that those folks was wicked back then. So they now hid their names because they Babylonian scribes. And they got the power to do that when they control the land and set its education system up and set everything up. You see what I'm saying? They don't have to rule the people directly. You see what I'm saying? They can set up a government and administration where other folks can rule over the people that's supposed to be oppressed. Like this system that they got set up today. Alright, so, Hebrews should be real. You know what I'm saying? Hebrew is real crazy if they call themselves some Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? For the Creator said, and the Elohim shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way of I spake unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more again. And there you should be sold unto your enemies for bondwoman and bondwoman, and no man shall buy you. Meaning nobody gonna come redeem you, because in the biblical days, you know what I'm saying? That's like when the Assyrians came to get everybody, and how the king had to get them some gold or some silver to back them up off the nation and to keep them folks from coming in and tearing up the town and killing the folks and robbing and raping. You know what I'm saying? We had to come up with some gold. And it happened quite a few times where we had to pay a tribute, and then that spurred the people. Well, could nobody spur us after we broke the covenant with the creator for the Egyptian religion? You see what I'm saying? And it was over with. And that was the people's main thing, was to get us to break the covenant. You see what I'm saying? To break the covenant. And we broke it for Egyptian religion. And if you go to, I think it's Ezekiel. Let me see if I can turn to it. Is it Ezekiel 27, where the creator said how the Egyptians broke us in? No, 23. The word of the Elohim came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredom in Egypt. They committed whoredom in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the tents of their virginity. And the name of the other one is Aholah the elder, and Aholabah her sister. You know what I'm saying? That's Jerusalem and Samaria. You know what I'm saying? The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. You know what I'm saying? And so the Egyptians bust us in when we was in Egypt, and then when we left Egypt. And you know, that's like Solomon. You know what I'm saying? But let me go to this other history that's gonna bring us, you know what I'm saying, bring me into King Solomon. You know what I'm saying? And it's about how long we stayed in the land. We didn't stay in the land no long time. You know, we didn't stay in the promised land no long time. We didn't stay in the promised land no long time. It's a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, then let's see. Slavery in the land from Joshua's death. You know what I'm saying? Alright, you know what I'm saying? We know Moses died around about 1406 BC. 1406 BC, Prophet Moses died, and then Joshua come on, and then Joshua's death is around about 1375 BC. Alright, we were going to bondages. That's the book of Judges. We in all kind of bondages because we mixing with those people. We worshiping their gods. They done tricked us. And just, man, they done just broke all bad. Alright, we stay messed up to Samuel come on, Prophet Samuel. That's going to be around about 1100 BC. So 1375 from when Joshua died, when we was in them little bondages, you know what I'm saying? It was about 275 years we was messed up. You know, we had judges that'd come in and save us, but we'll go into a whole nother bondage, and we was just all messed up. You know what I'm saying? And then we started to come into the promised land, around about 1375 BC. You see what I'm saying? So you know, us coming into the promised land and not completing a little job and going into them little bondages, we didn't get no relief, man, until Samuel, you know what I'm saying, come about. And that was in 1100 BC. And then King David, you know what I'm saying, was king of Judah in 1010 BC, and 1003 he was king over all Israel. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only time that we did good, was from Samuel to King David. Man, that's only like 130 years. That's 130 years we did good. You see what I'm saying? All right, and then King David died, and then Solomon come on. Oh, wicked Solomon took us down through there. Matter of fact, we lost the covenant and went downhill from the time of Solomon. You see what I'm saying? From the time of King Solomon, we went all the way downhill. We never recovered nothing but one time, and that was under King Josiah, who was a prophecy king. And he the prophecy king that the Babylonian scribes took all his prophecies in the book of Isaiah and so forth, because they was looking for King Josiah for like 300 years, and how they took his prophecies and then ascribed it to a demigod, that demigod Jesus in the New Testament. You know, a book that's 500 years separated from the Tanakh. You know what I'm saying? They ended at 430 BC with the book of Malachi, and then 100 AD they come with this New Testament. You know, that's like almost 500-600 years difference. You know what I'm saying? 187,000 days. and then they come with a demigod, but Solomon, Solomon come on around about 970, and his death was in 931 BC. And during Solomon's time, he chased his brother named Jeroboam. He chased Jeroboam into Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Into Pharaoh's hand, and then what's so cold? The Pharaohs, the Pharaohs that was on in Solomon time were the Mishwish ones, the ones that were kin to the tribe of Ephraim and them. You see what I'm saying? From Joseph union with Asenath. Well, they relatives was on the throne, and when Solomon chased Jeroboam into Egypt, you see what I'm saying? That opened the door up for us losing the covenant, because Jeroboam come out with the two golden cows. You know what I'm saying? With the two golden calves, and the golden calf ain't nothing but Hathor in the Egyptian religious system. You see what I'm saying? They had the slaves on it. You know what I'm saying? You see the prophet Ezekiel say that Egypt bust us open. That was the first time that we didn't ever worship other gods. You see what I'm saying? Was when we came into Egypt, because when we was with our father Jacob, before we come into Egypt, the tribes, that we didn't fool around and get down with no false idol worship. You see what I'm saying? And that we only started doing it after leaving Egypt. You see what I'm saying? And I can show throughout the scriptures that we were so messed up that we wanted to go back to Egypt so many times. There's so many verses showed that on our journey from Exodus, from Egypt going into the promised land, how the people doubted prophet Moses and wanted to go back to Egypt quite a few times. You see what I'm saying? All right. Solomon was demoted. Solomon was demoted to a prince. You see what I'm saying? Solomon was demoted to a prince. So it's kind of really bad to be calling Solomon King Solomon when the Creator had demoted him to a prince. You see what I'm saying? Because he was wicked, and he basically brung the kingdom down. And when the Creator demotes you, the Creator know that you done did real bad and stuff. And that, ain't no coming back. All right. And Jeroboam. All right. When you get to Exodus, First Kings chapter 11, verse 26. You'll see, and Jeroboam the son of Nebat, an Ephraimite of Zerudah, Solomon's servant, whose mother name was Zurah, a widow woman. Even he lifted up his hand against the king, and this was the cause that he lifted up his hand and against the king. Solomon built Milo and repaired the breaches of the city of David and his father. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of value. And Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it come to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out to Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it into 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for this said the Elohim Yah of Israel, behold, I will rent the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon. So the Creator, was really finna probably give us, put Jeroboam in charge of the 10 tribes, and maybe that would have, he resisted the Egyptian religion that the Egyptians probably kept trying to put on us, from Solomon time, because Solomon then built the Egyptians houses and temples and everything, Pharaoh daughter and stuff, and as you read down, you know what I'm saying, you'll see it says that, but he shall, let me see, and after Jeroboam, got the 10 pieces, but he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, because that they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, Malcolm, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways to do that which is right in my eyes, to keep my statutes and my judgment as David his father did. Howbeit I would not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David his sake. my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandment and my statutes. So Solomon was made into a prince. So Solomon, sure enough, gonna be trying to kill Jeroboam, and Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, who was from the tribe of Ephraim. And Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shawshank. You see, that was his relatives. You see what I'm saying? Them Egyptians from the from Lower Libya, the Mishwish tribes. You know, that's gonna be Shawshank in them, and that's gonna be Ephraim and them kinfolks. You know, got a heritage with them from Joseph having them two sons by Asenath, Manasseh and Ephraim. So when Jeroboam come up out of Egypt, you see what I'm saying, and he was there, man, until the death of Solomon. And then when Solomon died, he come out, and then, you know what I'm saying, and to not be reunited with the with the southern kingdom, that would have brought the kingdom back to David's, you know what I'm saying, the house of David, you know, that he built two golden calves, whereupon the king, you know what I'm saying, this is First Kings chapter 12 verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made two calves of gold, and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. So we was all messed up, and we stayed on the Egyptian religion that Jeroboam put us on for like 300 years, to King Josiah clean it up. And then after King Josiah cleaned it up, and the Egyptians killed him, they put us back on the Egyptian religion. And then we would go into Africa and lose everything because of that. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, the tribe of Ephraim, you know what I'm saying, with Jeroboam, you know, with them golden calves messed us up. And then that was like letting Egypt, putting the pressure up off Egypt. You see what I'm saying? Because now they got us up off the covenant. And they can come across the promised land. You see what I'm saying? And they can go do trade with their folks and bring their nation up. And that's what the Egyptians was about, enslaving us with their gods so they can come across the promised land and then do trade in Mesopotamia. You see what I'm saying? Most Hebrews don't understand that. You see what I'm saying? Mesopotamia right there. So, you know, them Egyptians, you know, us having that covenant right there, blocking them off. They can't come through. So it was like the death of Egypt. We was finna kill the Egyptians if we would have did the covenant. You see what I'm saying? All right. So Jeroboam brought them two golden calves out. He was from the tribe of Ephraim, and they was some Egyptians, you know what I'm saying, was their relatives. All right. So we would be on that mess for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, we would stay on that mess. All right. It was a prophecy in 931 BC of King Josiah getting rid of the Egyptian religion. And behold, there came a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense, and he cried against the altar the word of the Elohim, and said, O altar, altar, this saith the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and the men's bones shall he burn. All right, 300 years. This is in 931 BC. King Josiah born around about 631 BC. He come on the throne around about 640. He started cleaning. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? When he was about 8 years old, and then when he got about 12 years into his reign, I think when he turned about 18, he started to clean the whole Israel up. And then those people, now let me get into their history. You see what I'm saying? Now this is where the Babylonian scribes come in, the people who fashion all the fake history and stuff. Because during this time that we was on the Egyptian religion, the Assyrians came and they took the fighting tribes. The people with strong backs, because they was having trouble with the folks in Assyria. You know what I'm saying? Coming up out the mountains, coming out the mountains, but between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea, the Caucasus Mountain. Them Scythians was coming down, and they was kicking it in Assyria, and then they had got lodged in Assyria, and they started attacking Assyria and stuff. And I got the history about Baratuta and King Midas. You see what I'm saying? The double crosser. You know what I'm saying? And how they would come back and destroy Assyria. But before that happened, the prophet Jonah had went there to try to tell them to clean up. They didn't do it. And then the prophet Num made an oracle about Assyria's destruction. Well, Assyria had got tangled up with them folks coming up out the mountains and stuff. And them folks was trying to get into Babylon with the rest of the wicked folks and mix up with them and have a whole lot of wickedness going on from the Canaanite Amorite culture. The Amorites are the founders of Babylon. 2,000 some years, 222 BC, the Canaanite culture in Babylon, 2400 BC, the Canaanite culture over Babylon, 22 BC. Our prophet Abraham would leave the Mesopotamia area as soon as them folks, was starting to come on and get strong up there and stuff, and he would go towards the promised land, and he was told he would be given that land and stuff. And that was our job, to get rid of them folks. And that if we didn't get rid of those folks, and we also enslaved them Amorites. It's the reason why they enslaving us back too. It's kind of like a little payback. You'll have to look at the brother Tony Martin, the Jews' involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. He go into detail. He's a professor, and you have to watch his videos, and he'll give you the insight on that. All right, those Babylonian scribes that was placed in our land in 722 BC, the Sephardims. This is gonna be while we was on that Egyptian religion from Jeroboam from 933 to 722 BC. We still on the Egyptian religion. You know what I'm saying? You can go to Second Chronicles 13:8. Let's see, Second Chronicles 13:8. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Got on my time turning to the page. 13:8. And now ye think to withstand the kingdom of the Elohim in the hand of the sons of David, and ye be a great multitude, and there are with you golden calves which Jeroboam made for you for gods. You see what I'm saying? We was on that Egyptian religion. You know what I'm saying? We was on that Egyptian religion. And if you go to 2 Kings, I think 17:6. Yeah, we was on that Egyptian religion. And then while we was on that Egyptian religion, them Babylonian scribes was placed in our land. All right, 2 Kings 17:6 and 2 Kings 17, verse 16. All right, and they left all the commandment of the Elohim their Yah, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove and worship all the host of heaven. You see what I'm saying? And then, that's when the Babylonian scribes was placed in our land. You see, and they was placed in our land during that time that we was on the Egyptian religion. If you look at 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 24, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuddle, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. Alright, that's gonna be Sipper. Sipper is short for Sepharvaim. That's the Hebrew word for Sephardi, and Sephardim. It's only 2 set of Jews: Ashkenazi, whose code name in history is Scythian, and the Sephardi groups. Well, the Sephardi groups are Babylonian scribes. They are scribes. They are responsible for writing history. All the history of Babylon. Like I say, we didn't stay in the land long enough to leave an imprint so people would know that we was there after we left. And it's like people be looking for Hebrew artifacts and all. We didn't stay there long enough. And when we was in the promised land, we was basically on the enemy's religions. You see what I'm saying? We was worshiping the enemy gods. So you're not going to see too much Hebrew Israelite culture specifically from us. You see what I'm saying? And the culture that you do see in the artifacts and the history that you do see about the Hebrew Israelites, it's going to be from those Sephardi groups, from the people that we abandoned our heritage to, because they was placed in our land. And when you get over to 2 Kings 32, so they feared the Elohim and made themselves of the lords of them priests of the high places, and they feared the Elohim and served their own gods. You know, that's like that Judaism, you know, mixed with the Babylonian Kabbalah stuff and what they try to say is our law. See, that's why the Creator told us we was going to get a whole new, entirely different covenant, not like the one that we got from Egypt, because the Babylonian scribes got control of our history and they created a whole lot of myths. So we got to start from scratch and get a whole new culture. See what I'm saying? We got to get a whole new culture. So those folks in our land in 722 BC, the Babylonian scribes was placed there. That's going to be the Sephardi group. It's going to be the first one. And then 134 years later, around by 588 BC, during the Babylonian wars, after the Egyptians killed King Josiah and we said we was going to do the Egyptian religion, then the Babylonians came and chased us into Africa. And the Babylonians ain't nothing. The Chaldeans wasn't nothing but Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi made up the Chaldean army. And they burnt the whole town down and chased us into Africa. And we stayed there till the transatlantic slave trade started. You know, there's no history about the Hebrews that went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion as coming out, being reunited with the exiles that come home from Babylon. You got the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. You know what I'm saying? A lot of years went by. And show that. Alright. I am saying from us going into Africa in 588 BC to the book of Malachi, 420 BC is 168 years. Us staying into Africa to the Greeks show up is 256 years that the Queen of Heaven worshippers would have been in Africa. And I'm going to show you this. Alright, so, you know, the Sephardi's placed in our land in 722 BC. And then if you go to Second Chronicles, you know what I'm saying? And it's a good thing that I'm turning to Second Chronicles, because then I can show you that the Jewish myths of the 10 lost tribes is a lie. You see what I'm saying? It's a lie. And that all the tribes were at home. You know, if you go to Second Chronicles 30, this is in 715 BC. This is like 7 years after the so-called Assyrians took, you know, the three fighting tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, that, you know, they say that all the tribes was taken and all the tribes wasn't taken because they still at home, because King Hezekiah is dealing with them, as well as his great-grandson, King Josiah. All the tribes that's not mentioned during King Hezekiah time gonna be mentioned during King Josiah time. Alright. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel in Judah and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come unto the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah Israel. For the king had taken counsel and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the second month, for they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together at Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation, so they established a decree making proclamations throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to the house of the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel at Jerusalem, for they had not done so at a long time, and such short as it was written. So the post went with the letters from the king and his And the post went from the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remain of you that are escaped out of the hand of the king of Assyria. All right, and then as you read, you know what I'm saying, you go down to 10. So the post passed from city to city throughout all Ephraim and Manasseh, even unto Zebulun. But they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. Nevertheless, the verse of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. You see what I'm saying? So that's Asher and Zebulun and Manasseh, and you know what I'm saying? They still in the land. And then as you read on down and then get down to verse 18, for a multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim, Manasseh, Ashkar, and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves, yet they did eat the Passover, otherwise that it was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, The good Elohim pardon everyone. You see what I'm saying? So all the tribes was there. And then what's so significant about this is that the people, because King Hezekiah wanted everybody to come to the Passover, trying to get the northern kingdom, you know what I'm saying, to act right and start, following the law and stuff, that everybody came, even those Sephardims. You see, this is how they learned our heritage and was in our heritage and able to say that they the Hebrews, because they was right there in the midst of us. They was right there in the midst of us. And then they Babylonian scribes on top of that. You see what I'm saying? So if we abandon our heritage, then they could say that they the Hebrews, because they'll be the only ones in the land after we gone. And that's what happened. And all the congregation of Judah, RMC, when you read down to verse 25, 30 verse 25, and all the congregation of Judah with the priests and the Levites and all the congregation that come out of Israel and the strangers that come out of the land of Israel that dwell in Judah rejoice. You see what I'm saying? So those people the strangers gonna be the Sephardi Jews. You see what I'm saying? The Sephardims. Those gonna be the strangers that was placed in 722 by the king of Assyria from Babylon. They was Amorites. So when we abandoned our heritage to them, it was like the Amorites was getting our covenant in their heritage. Man, they came up big time off us. They came up big time off us, and that's why come they been able to rule the world. You see what I'm saying? Because they been ruling the world. Got the folks thinking that they the tribes of Israel. So the people gonna treat them different. You see what I'm saying? And they gonna handle them a little different than what they handle everybody else, especially if they believe in the Creator or believe that it was one. So you ain't gonna be too quick to dog them out. And the people that have dogged them out is the people that done woke up that they wasn't Hebrews, and then them people turn around and destroy them. You see what I'm saying? All right, let's go to King Josiah. This is in 640 BC. The Assyrians is not even on the map. This is a king of prophecy. Matter of fact, he barely come on to the throne and barely got on the throne. It was a miracle that he got on the throne after his father was killed. And then they could have picked anybody else, and then they picked a little old boy little old baby boy to run the kingdom. And sure enough, it was King Josiah. You see what I'm saying? That they had been waiting for the 300 years that we was on the Egyptian religion. Well, the good people finally started to get it cleaned up, and this was our only chance. This was our only chance to get right. And I'm going to show that this was our only chance to get right, because if you go to Jeremiah 36, he going to tell you. And it's like, as you read in the book of Jeremiah, you'll see that our sin was on the same level as Sodom and Gomorrah, because we was being influenced by the people that had developed Sodom and Gomorrah. If we on Egyptian religion and on all these different religions, that's why come this Babylonian system say, hey, let's have all these religions in it. Because if you got all these religions from all these different folks, then they get to control. You see what I'm saying? Especially if you got the Hebrews on the false religion. See, that's what make those societies run. If they got us, they're messed up. The main ingredient. You see what I'm saying? All right, King Josiah. So Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand or to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the Yah of David his father. And in the 12th year he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places, and the groves, and the carved images, and the molten images. And they break down the altars of Balaam in his presence, and the images that were on high above them he cut down, and the groves, and the carved images, and the molten images he brake down in pieces, and made dust of them, and stowed it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests of their altars, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. So did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simon, even unto Naphtali, with their mattocks round about. And when he had broken down the altars and the groves, and beaten the graven images into powder, and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. See, about this time when King Josiah come on, the Creator was sending the Babylonians in to destroy the Assyrians. You see what I'm saying? This was our only chance. Our prophecy king, our Messiah, our true Messiah, was born and was doing just what the prophecy said he was supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? And then the Egyptians killed him. The Egyptians killed King Josiah. And then we go to the Egyptian religion. You see what I'm saying? We go to the Egyptian religion. They put his son Jehoiakim on there. And there was even a prophet that was telling Jehoiakim, nah, man, we can't do this. And they chased him into Egypt, and the Egyptians turned him over. Man, and they killed him. See what I'm saying? So the Egyptians killed King Josiah and then put his wicked son on. And then the wicked son, them took us to the Egyptian religion. And then we were going to Africa in the book of Jeremiah, never to be heard of again till we trying to wake up now. You see, right here. And it come to pass in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, that this word came to Jeremiah from the Elohim, saying, take thee a roll of a book, and write therein all the words that I have spoken unto thee against Israel and against Judah, and against all the nations, from the day that I spake unto thee, from the days of Josiah even unto this day. So Israel was there during King Josiah days. It wasn't no 10 lost tribes. That's a myth. You see what I'm saying? That's a myth. You see what I'm saying? That's like that 70 AD lie. It is a myth and a lie that they created to control the rest of the world with them lies. You see what I'm saying? So we was being judged from the time of King Josiah. You see what I'm saying? And the Egyptians hurry up and got rid of him. And then look, you know what I'm saying? What we did. We was chased into Africa. We was chased into Africa. If you go to Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18. This was a state of mind. You know what I'm saying? The Babylonians then came and they then chased us up off the land. Let me see. All right, 15. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken to us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. And we took off into Egypt, and then we stayed there, and then the Babylonians came into Egypt, and we went into the Sahara, and you know the rest. We've been enslaved. You know what I'm saying? It took a little while to catch up with us, but you know, we couldn't get away from the prophecies. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldeans. On our way going, you know, the Chaldeans wasn't nothing but Ashkenazi. The Scythians that made up the Chaldeans. That was Ashkenazi coming into the picture. The Sephardics are already there. since 722 BC. The people from 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24, the Sepharvims, they are already placed in our land in 722 BC. So when we run into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, they gonna get everything. You see what I'm saying? They gonna get books and everything. And then that's why Prophet Jeremiah said this. You know, Prophet Jeremiah said this. And he said that we would get a new covenant. I spend all my time turning to the verse. Alright. Long. Turn almost to. Alright. Behold, the days come, said the Elohim, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. See, we broke that covenant. Although I was a husband unto them, said the Elohim, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Elohim. I will put my law in their inward parts, and will write it in their hearts, and will be their Yah, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, saying, know the Elohim, for they shall know me, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, said the Elohim, for I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. See, our sin is basically coming off these other folks. It ain't something that is rooted in us and that we doing and stuff. We basically doing the stuff, man, that we done learned from them other folks. So we got to be forgiven for this, and we gonna come into our heritage, and ain't nothing these people could do about it. And they lying and myths, ain't nothing can save them from us coming into our heritage. But that 10 lost tribes, that's one of the main myths. And then that one about the 70 AD.